Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vocabulary for Reading Comprehension. This is part 5. My name is Abhilasha, and we'll get started with one more passage for your reading comprehension. Remember, in this series, we are talking about reading comprehension, but we are looking at the vocabulary angle of it. So, what are the words in a passage? How do you identify the meanings? What is it that we are covering different passages for all of this, and we will be continuing with this series for the month, and I hope this session will be helpful to you. As always, I'm going to request you to like the session. If you haven't yet liked it, please make sure you like it, and also please share the session with your friends and your Telegram groups or your WhatsApp channels so that more and more people can join in. Remember, these sessions are going to be helpful, but they're very exciting for us when you join in, when more and more people share, when there are lots of shares and likes and subscribes. That's when it becomes really exciting, and it becomes an initiative for us to do more sessions. Guys, also remember to subscribe to the session, because if you do not subscribe, then the chat will not work. So please make sure that you have subscribed and also hit the bell icon, because the bell icon will be helping you to get notifications of our sessions. So, all of that is absolutely essential, and it's my request that all of you make sure that you are doing it. Guys, this session for vocabulary for reading comprehension we've been doing for some time now, and I hope you are taking full advantage of this. I have started covering passages from the CLAT and ALET papers of 2025, and therefore this will be very helpful. We are starting with vocabulary, then we'll go into the different types of questions, and slowly we'll learn how to handle reading comprehension, logical reasoning for your CLAT as well as for ALET. Okay, I hope this makes a lot of sense for you, and that you will keep joining in, and that you will bring more and more friends of yours also to the session. Oh, like I said, remember to hit like, share, and subscribe so that we are sorted. All right, let's get started with our passage. There's no need to waste any more time. Let's read the passage together and then continue with it. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to read, and then I will discuss the passage, and then we will take it forward from here. So I'm just going to put myself on mute and give you 2 minutes to read the passage. Please read quickly. All right, guys. So I've given you 2 minutes for reading the passage. Now let us read the passage together, and then we'll take a look at what the passage is saying. So, from a very early age, I knew that when I grew up, I should be a writer. So, the author knew from a very young age that they wanted to be a writer. I had the lonely child's habit. So, the lonely child's habit is of making up stories and holding conversations with imaginary persons. And I think from the very start, my literary ambitions were mixed up with the feelings of being isolated and undervalued. So the author felt isolated and felt undervalued. I knew that I had a facility with words. Facility with words means I was able to use words and a power of facing unpleasant facts. And I felt that this created a sort of a private world in which I could get my own back. To get my own back means to take revenge for my failure in everyday life. So he was like, because he was a failure in everyday life, he wanted to take revenge for that, and that would happen in this private world that he created. I wanted to write enormous naturalistic novels with unhappy endings, full of detailed descriptions and arresting similes. Similes, of course, we understand are comparisons. Arresting means very attractive, very interesting, something that will make the reader stop and think. And also full of purple passages in the word in which words were used partly for the sake of their sound. So you would use very colorful language, and you would use those words for how they would sound. I give all this background information because I do not think one can assess a writer's motive without knowing something of his early development. So the author is telling you his own motive, why he's a writer, and he's telling you about his early development because of that reason. His subject matter will be determined by the age he lives in, of course. This is, at least this is true in tumultuous. Tumultuous means very stirring, very difficult, revolutionary ages like our own. But before he ever begins to write, he will have acquired an emotional attitude from which he will never completely escape. So his mental makeup will be fixed and he will not leave it. It is his job to discipline his temperament, so he has to control his nature. But if he escapes from his early influences together, he will have killed his impulse to write. So if those early influences are removed, then he will probably not be a writer. I think there are four great motives for writing, at any rate for writing prose. They are: one, sheer egoism. Desire to seem clever, to be talked about, to be remembered after death, to get your own back on grown ups who snubbed you in childhood. So you want to be important, right? To even those grown ups who did not care for you, who ignored you in your childhood. To aesthetic enthusiasm, you want to, aesthetic means sense of beauty, right? So you want to share something with others, something that you feel is beautiful, you want to share that with others. Historical impulse, so desire to see things as they are, to find out true facts and store them up for the use of posterity. So you want to store things for the future, you want to show people how they were. And political purpose, desire to push the world in a certain direction, to alter other people's ideas of the kind of society that they should strive for. Strive for means to make an effort for. So four reasons why somebody would be a writer. Now, this is an extract from George Orwell's Why I Write. What a lovely passage this is. Let's take a look at our questions. Here is your first question. What does the word facility mean in the phrase, I knew I had a facility with words? Okay, take a second and mark your answer, or you can also type it out in the chat box. Ideally, you should type it out in the chat box. So, the word facility, I knew I had a facility with words means I was able to use them. I was very skilled with words, right? So, which word will say skilled with words? It is not limitation. Okay, it is aptitude, not difficulty, not disinterest. Correct answer is aptitude, skill. Okay, your ability to use words, right? That is what, when I say facility, what I mean is I have the ability to use words, right? So that is the correct answer, B. All right, let's look at the next question. What does the term arresting in arresting similes imply? Well, this is something that I've already told you. So if you were hearing my description of the passage, then you know. A simile, of course, we know is a comparison. There are two types of figures of speech that you should know. One is a metaphor, the other is a simile. Now, a metaphor is a comparison without a word of comparison, and a simile uses a word of comparison like as or as, like or as, and one of those. Okay, so he is as cute as a whatever, something panda. That's a simile. Arresting simile means something that's very that catches your attention. Arrest here does not mean arrest as in You are handcuffed and arrested, but this arrest means to attract attention and to stop someone. Somebody has an arresting face means they're very attractive. You look at them and then you want to look at them. So therefore, not uninteresting. Striking can work, not legal, not restrictive. Best answer, striking, very attractive. Okay, something that's very mesmerizing. What a lovely word this is, mesmerizing, right? So that would work. All right. What does motives in assess a writer's motives mean? So if you're assessing means to examine. You are examining a writer's what? A writer's motive, his intention, right? Oh, so I have got the word intention here in one of my options. Option number C says intention, not skill, not achievement, and not failures. So correct answer, intention. Okay, let's look at the next one. What does the word discipline in? It is his job to discipline his temperament, most likely mean. You're trying to discipline your temperament. What is it that you're doing? Are you going letting it go away here and there, haywire? No. What are you doing? You're trying to control it. And therefore, the correct answer will be B, to control. Not to punish, not to reward, not to enhance. Those will be to increase. So that will not be the right answer. All right, in the passage, sheer egoism refers to. Sheer is just simply. Egoism is when you believe that you are the best and there's no one better than you. You're only focused on yourself. So, self focus is the right answer here. So, when you're self focused, you're being egoistic. So, therefore, not modesty, not humility, not generosity. Self interest is the correct answer here, right? I hope you're getting this. Okay. All right. Let's look at the next question. The phrase to get your own back. So I wanted to get my own back and therefore I did this. It's not to accept failure. It is not to change direction. Changing direction is to pivot, right? To turn and switch. Return home, no. To seek revenge is the correct answer. So he slapped me and I waited for the time being to get my own back. I wanted revenge. Okay. That's such a nice phrase, huh? Idioms are sometimes the best way of stating things. You can state them in such beautiful manner. And writers use these. They use figures of speech, they use phrasal verbs, they use idioms so that they can convey their thing in as beautiful a fashion as it can be. All right, what does the word aesthetic in aesthetic enthusiasm refer to? So, enthusiasm, of course, is passion. You're very enthusiastic, you're very passionate. Aesthetic, of course, is related to sense of beauty and proportion, correct? So when I'm talking of aesthetic sense, somebody has an aesthetic sense, they have a sense of beauty. When you have aesthetic enthusiasm, you have a passion for things that are beautiful. So is it logical reasoning? No. Is it political ideology? No. Is it practicality? Not that too. Is it artistic appreciation? Yes, of course it is artistic appreciation. So the correct answer here will be D, artistic appreciation. All right, let's go to the next question. Which of the following is the closest synonym for impulse as used in killed his impulse to write? So he killed means he destroyed. His impulse is that desire. So he destroyed his desire to write, right? So inhibition, something that stops you from working or moving, that will not work. Discipline, of course, is control, that will not work. Urge will work. Planning won't work. So the correct answer is urge. That desire inside of you that makes you do something, that urge inside you. So the correct answer, urge. Okay. All right, let's look at the next question. What does posterity in store them up for the use of posterity mean? So you're storing something up for use when? Is it use in the present? No, but then why would you store it, right? So present won't work. For the use of critics, but critics is not posterity. Ancestors are past, so there would not be posterity. Remember the root words post and ante. Ante means before and post means after. So therefore, anything that has post is going to be after, and that's why future works very well as a synonym for or as the meaning of posterity. Okay. All right. Let's look at the next word. The word snubbed in to get your own back on grown ups who snubbed you in childhood. So you're trying to take revenge on the grown ups. Why? Because these grown ups ignored you, they snubbed you, they treated you with disdain. Oh, you, that ways, right? So snub means to ignore, to treat in a disdainful manner, right? To treat with disdain, in an insulting manner, in a condescending manner, right? You can treat someone in a condescending manner. Say, oh, you are a creature, oh, that ways, wild creature. Praise, of course, will not work, educated will not work, befriended will not. All right, let's also look at some questions from the actual paper. So, for the author, aesthetic enthusiasm is an important motive for writing because it shapes the thought, it creates an artistic piece, it becomes invaluable, it is non utilitarian. Now, let's quickly take a moment and go back to the passage and check and see why is aesthetic enthusiasm an important motive for writing. I'll take you back to the passage. Okay, we have spoken about aesthetic enthusiasm in the last paragraph, where we very clearly say that there are four motives, four great motives for writing. Aesthetic enthusiasm is the desire to share an experience which one feels is valuable and ought not to be missed. So, you are sharing an experience which you feel is very valuable and should not be missed. So, let's take a look at our options. So it is an important motive for writing because it shapes the thought, because it creates an artistic piece, because it becomes invaluable. Oh, but we have missed the correct answer place, right? We looked for uh, why is he writing, na? So let's take a look. Let's read this passage again. His subject matter will be determined by the age he lives in, but before he ever begins to write, he will have acquired an emotional attitude from which he will never escape. It is his job to discipline his temperament. But if he escapes from his early influences, he will have killed his desire or impulse to write. Now, there are four great motives for writing, at least for writing prose. So, now the author is talking about this. Okay. So, now, if you really want to assess the writer's motive, then you need to assess his early development and see all of that. So, why is the writer writing something? He's writing it because of these reasons, right? So, let's take a look at our question once again and we'll take a look at what he's saying. So, aesthetic enthusiasm is an important motive for writing because it shapes the thoughts. How your thoughts will exist, that comes from aesthetic enthusiasm. That is one of the things. So, therefore, correct answer A, not create an artistic piece, not become invaluable and non utilitarian, none of those will work. Let's look at the second one. The author strongly advocates writers to avoid any egoistic impression in their work, be apolitical in their approach, be contemporary in their treatment of work. He has not said any of this. So the correct answer is going to be D, none of these. He says egoistic impression is important. Sometimes they're political. There are things they talk about the present time. They want to study the present and then take it for the future. So these are three things that are reasons why author does do writing. So therefore, none of these can be something that the author advocates the writers not to do. So therefore, answer will be D, none of the above. What is the synonym for tumultuous? Of course, we know chaotic, turbulent, disorderly. All of these will work. So answer should be D, all of the above. All right. George Orwell's loneliness during his childhood led to. Estrangement with his father, unhappy days, making up stories, unpleasant incidents. He started making up stories, and that is how he became an author, isn't it? So, correct answer C. Why does Orwell give background information? Now, he is giving you background information because he wants you to understand his motives, right? So, he had the lonely child's habit, but that's not why he's telling you. He says it is essential to know the reasons why the writers are writing. So, he is giving you his own motive also, not because of his historic impulse and not due to aesthetic enthusiasm. The correct answer here is option number B. It is essential to know about the motives of writers. Now, if the writer escapes from early impulses, he will lose his urge to write, be unable to imagine creatively, be able to converse with imaginary characters, or be able to influence. Now, this is something that you could have picked from the passage. So, if you have any doubts, go to the passage and check. Okay. So, clearly, let's go and take a moment and so, yes, if he escapes from his early influences, he will have killed his urge impulse to write. This is what the author has said here. Let me just take the highlighter and do this in green. So, if he escapes from his early influences altogether, he will have killed his impulse to write. So, then he would have killed his impulse, right? So, that is what our answer should say. So he would lose his urge to write. And therefore your correct answer will be option number A. Not B, not C, and not D. This was very clearly from the passage. Alright. That brings us to the end of today's session, guys. I hope this was helpful. Please make sure to give feedback. You can drop a comment in the chat box. We'll keep doing sessions like this for you guys so that you can join in and you can take advantage. Excuse me. All right. Excuse me, I'm just having a very sore throat. Okay, I hope you have hit the like button. If you haven't, please like the session. Also, please share it and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. I will see you next week, same time, same place, same session, more some passages. All right, bye bye.